Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue talking about the Orks versus the Space Marines as we get into three different accounts of Ork versus Space Marine battles. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K content every single day. And if you have any suggestions, just comment down below. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the Orks versus the Space Marines. The Ork race has plagued humanity since mankind left the solar system, and the human interstellar empire of the Dark Age of technology fought off the Green Tide as best they could. But the Emperor of Mankind knew that to truly defend a human empire required superhuman soldiers, capable of going toe-to-toe with enemies like the Orks. During the Great Crusade, many Imperial expeditionary fleets encountered the Greenskin menace, but this time they were prepared to fight these savage creatures, thanks to the Emperor's Angels of Death. The Adeptus Astartes have waged brutal wars against the Orks on multiple planets, and although victory for the Imperium has been claimed on numerous occasions, there have also been many losses that have stained the history of the Space Marines. And yet the Adeptus Astartes continue to fight on.
Advance.
The order rang across the Comnet like a clarion call. The battle brethren surged forward without hesitation, bolters roaring as their bullets battered the ruined farm ahead. Return fire from the Orks lashed at the Space Marines. Tracer fire and screaming shells filled the air, ricocheting off their armor and forcing them to struggle forward as if into the teeth of a storm. But the farm had to be captured. The Orks' big guns had to be silenced. Brother Belias's was struck square in the chest. Flecks of melted ceramite sprayed across his faceplate, and icons across his helmet display flickering warning orange as his armor struggled to keep him upright. It failed, and he went down on one knee. Not 2 yards away, Brother Eve fell with 2 fist-sized holes through his abdomen, his bright blood mixing with the dark earth. At that instant, the heavy weapons of the Devastators spoke with one voice, and the perimeter buildings were rent by fiery explosions. Almost immediately, the Orks' firing slacked to sporadic bursts. Belias heaved himself upright, the armor's musculature grinding as it tried to keep up with his movements. Icons were still flashing as he leveled his bolter and blasted at a figure silhouetted in a ruined window. The greenskin disappeared under the hail of explosive bolts, and Belias boosted the power to his legs to loop forward and regain his place in the battle line. His armor hadn't been the same since the insurrection on Lannis 4, 5 years ago. The armor had never truly recovered its spirit since that injury, and the replacement parts were weaker and slower than the old ones. The tech priests had lost so much knowledge, they simply didn't make things like they used to. He banished the heretical thought in an instant. Never doubt the righteousness of man. Brother Mortis had told him, though you have been elevated by the blessing of the Emperor, you are still the servant of man. It is doubt that forms the path of damnation. Belias caught up with Brother Julo and Brother Varas as they prepared to assault the outer wall. Julo's armor was scarred in a dozen different places where he had been hit, but he calmly slammed another clip into the bolt gun, as if at morning firing rites. Varas gave the signal, and they stormed through the breach together. To their left and right, more armored brethren burst through the perimeter walls. A horde of Orks spilled out of the shattered building like a green tide. Beyond them, their crude artillery unleashed another salvo. At such close range, it was devastating. Fire and smoke exploded all about, and Belias felt his helm ring like a bell as red-hot shrapnel ricocheted off it. Julo fell with a curse, his arm torn away at the elbow. Yells and gunshots filled the air as the Orks closed in on the battered Space Marines. Belias and the others took up firing stances and pumped bolter shots into the oncoming horde. Even Julo managed to heft his bolter in his remaining hand and open fire. Every shot punched another howling Ork off its feet, but they raced forward, oblivious to casualties, bloodlust twisting their bestial faces. The remaining brethren were so outnumbered that they would likely be swept away by their onslaught. Then it happened. A section of the wall collapsed inward, and a massive, hulking form crushed in over the rubble. It stood twice the height of a man, and so bulky and heavy armored that it looked more like a walking tank than an armored suit. Without breaking stride, it raised its multi-barrel cannon set into the angled armored plate of its arm, and opened fire on the Orks. Explosions ripped through their ranks like a scythe. With joy, Brother Beliasus recognized the ancient heraldry which the dreadnought displayed, and charged forward to follow the veteran Brother Mortis into the heart of the Ork horde. Aside from this Ork assault, another notable incident known as the Throstle disaster, or Wad Dragdaka, plowed headlong into the Andronsa cluster, causing untold devastation. On the planet of Thrasos, a combined force of Space Marines from the Iron Knights and Liberators chapter attempted to halt the Ork steamroller advance. A horde of Orks, including Dragdaka himself, were lured onto a huge refinery platform before Tech Marines destroyed all bridges linking the platform to the mainland. Space Marine kill teams were deployed across the hulking structure, tasked with slaughtering the trapped greenskins and assassinating Dragdaka. Yet the Adeptus Astartes woefully underestimated their foe. The greenskins dug in and fought back with unexpected tenacity. Though they killed thousands of Orks, over 300 Space Marines were slain, and their commanders are overwhelmed as yet more Ork vessels poured into the system. With his trophy poles rattling with freshly harvested Space Marine helmets, Warlord Dragdaka's position is unassailable. His Wa completely overran the Andrasa cluster within the year. Another notable incident occurred when Ork Warlord Snagrod united the warring Ork factions bordering the Loki sector and launched the greatest war the cluster had ever seen since the Great Crusade, attacking the isolated Imperial agri-world of Bad Landing. Imperial forces noted that although Snagrod was an Ork, the warlord showed incredible tactical savvy by utilizing Imperial tactics. One such tactic would be the elimination of his enemy's ability to communicate outside of their star system by killing the astropaths who would send the telepathic calls for help. It was this particular strategy that allowed Snagrod's Wa to go undetected until the invasion of the planet of Bad Landing, when Imperial Commissar Alhos Baldur was able to send a desperate plea for help to the Crimson Fist Space Marine chapter's homeworld of Ryan's World in the midst of the last stand. Confident that he had the world in his grasp, Snagrod put out ranting Vox broadcasts, boasting that the next conquest would be Ryan's World itself, which lay only a few weeks warp travel from Bad Landing. Chapter Master Pedro Cantor dispatched the Third Company of the Crimson Fist under Captain Ashor Draken to Bad Landing to stall the Ork Wall and determine its strength. The endeavor turned sour when a brash Scout Marine sniper failed in an assassination attempt against Snagrod. The Ork forces were immediately alerted to the Third Company's presence, and in the ensuing battle, Captain Ashor was killed by Snagrod, and only 28 out of the 84 Space Marines were able to return to Ryan's World. When Wa Snagrod hit Ryan's World, it was with a force unparalleled by any other Ork invasion since the assault of the Hive World of Armageddon. The conflict became drawn out and even more costly, as province by province, the Orks maimed citizens and raped the beauty of the planet. At the climax of the conflict, Snagrod issued a challenge to Chapter Master Pedro Cantor of the new Ryan spaceport. Although the Chapter Master was able to destroy a shielding device that protected the Warlord and deliver an incredible amount of punishment, Snagrod escaped at the last moment. The Ork invasion proved costly, although the planet's cities were destroyed with the exception of the new Rhine city, the capital and the seat of the world's government, before the planet was brought back under Imperial control by the Crimson Fists years later. Many of the worlds of the Loki sector, captured by Wa Snagrod, including Bad Landing, are still lost to the Emperor, remaining in Ork hands to this day. And those were 40 facts on the Orks versus the Space Marines. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to share it with your friends on Reddit or Facebook. It really helps out the channel when you do so. If you do like our videos and you watch them every day, don't forget we have a Patreon. A simple $1 a month helps us create more videos for you guys. If you are already supporting, thank you. It's because of you that we are able to put a little bit more effort into our editing. So thank you. And yeah, if you have any suggestions, just comment down below. I'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate signing out.